Right now, the Carolina coastline is disappearing, not eroding, not retreating, vanishing. Barrier islands that have sheltered the mainland for thousands of years are being swallowed whole by the Atlantic Ocean, rising 3 inches every single year, faster than any model predicted and faster than any government has prepared for. Families are waking up to find the beach that existed outside their window. Last summer is simply gone. The sand is not washing away gradually. It is collapsing, surrendering in chunks, disappearing overnight in volumes that leave scientists staring at their instruments in disbelief. And the ocean is not finished. The Carolina Barrier Islands are not ordinary coastline. They are some of the thinnest, most fragile landforms on the surface of the earth. They are paper-thin ribbons of sand, some no wider than a few hundred yards, stretching in a broken chain from the outer banks of North Carolina, all the way down through South Carolina's Grand Strand and the Sea Islands beyond. They were never permanent. They were never supposed to be. For thousands of years, these islands survived by moving, migrating slowly landward as the ocean pushed from the east, building on their western edges as they surrendered their eastern faces to the sea. That natural migration kept them alive. It was a slow, ancient negotiation between land and water that functioned without interruption since the last ice age. What is happening right now is different. The ocean is rising so fast, and the development packed behind these islands is so dense that the sand has nowhere left to go. The islands are not migrating. They are drowning in place, pinned between a rising Atlantic and a wall of highways, hotels, and homes that cannot move. 3 inches per year sounds modest. It does not sound like catastrophe. But 3 inches per year along a shoreline this flat and this low does not behave the way your instincts tell you it should. The United States Geological Survey and the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration have both confirmed that sea level rise along the Carolina coast is accelerating, exceeding the global average by nearly 40%. The reason is a convergence of forces that are not slowing down. Thermal expansion of warming ocean water pushes the surface higher every year. Glacial melt from Greenland and Antarctica adds volume to the Atlantic that has not existed in recorded human history. And beneath the Carolina coast, the land itself is sinking. Scientists call it subsidence. The geological platform beneath the coastal plain is compressing under its own weight, and under the weight of every road and building people have placed on top of it. The ocean is rising, and the land is falling. Both are happening at the same time. The combined effect means 3 inches of measured sea level rise translates into something far more destructive at the shoreline. Every additional inch of water reaches exponentially farther inland across terrain that is barely above sea level to begin with. Scientists studying this coast no longer call it erosion. They call it systematic inundation. No model currently in use shows it stopping. On September 14th of 2021, a United States Geological Survey team working the northern Outer Banks logged subsidence readings at Rodanthe that had not appeared in any previous measurement cycle. The data showed 12 millimeters of vertical land loss in a single calendar year at a location that had historically recorded 2 millimeters. Scientists ran the numbers again. The readings held. By October of 2022, aerial LiDAR mapping commissioned by the North Carolina Coastal Resources Commission revealed 3 separate sections of Hatteras Island had lost more than 60 feet of shoreline width in 18 months. Not from a named storm, not from a hurricane. From the baseline daily assault of a rising ocean against an island that no longer had the resilience to absorb it. By early 2023, the National Park Service permanently closed a section of beach access road near Cape Hatteras that engineers determined could not be stabilized, not repaired, not reinforced. Permanently closed. Dr. Stanley Morrison of the North Carolina Coastal Resources Commission reviewed the cumulative data and described what he was witnessing as a threshold crossing, the moment gradual change becomes irreversible structural failure. That threshold, he confirmed to a federal briefing in March of 2023, had already been crossed in no fewer than 7 distinct locations along the Carolina barrier chain. 7 locations where the geology has already decided the outcome. Margaret Tillett's family has owned property on Rodanthe since 1962. Her parents built a house on stilts the way everyone did, high enough to survive the storms, close enough to the water to feel like earned paradise. On a morning in February of 2023, she drove down after a period of elevated surf and found the house she had inherited hanging over open ocean. The lot her father paid cash for, the lot that had existed for 6 decades, was gone. Her homeowner's insurance policy contained a coastal erosion exclusion she had never examined closely enough. The house was valued at $480,000. The payout was $0. What is happening to Margaret Tillett is happening to families across 300 miles of Carolina shoreline. Property values in Dare County have declined 23% in assessed coastal parcels since 2020. Private insurance carriers have withdrawn from 26 coastal zip codes across both states in 4 years, quietly canceling policies and exiting markets their actuaries now classify as uninsurable. The state-backed insurer of last resort is absorbing claims at a volume it was never funded to survive. And 280,000 permanent residents living on or directly behind these islands are discovering, one policy document at a time, that the evacuation routes they depend on are built on the same ground disappearing beneath their feet. Highway 12 is the only road connecting the northern Outer Banks to the rest of North Carolina. 118 miles run along one of the most erosion-vulnerable stretches of coastline in the Western Hemisphere. The North Carolina Department of Transportation has spent more than $3 billion over 2 decades attempting to keep that road above water. Sections near Rodanthe have been relocated, elevated, and rebuilt multiple times. Engineers now openly acknowledge that continued relocation is no longer viable in several segments because there is no higher ground left to move to. The island is not wide enough. The sand is not deep enough. But Highway 12 is not the only infrastructure inside the kill zone. The Naval Air Station Oceana radar network depends on Outer Banks geography for Atlantic early warning capability. The Sunny Point Military Ocean Terminal sits behind a barrier chain that is actively losing its storm surge protection year after year. The Brunswick nuclear plant operates within the direct inundation zone, identified in NOAA's most recent 100-year storm surge modeling. These are not future vulnerabilities. They are present, documented, and accelerating. Here is what most people living behind the Carolina Barrier Islands have never been told. Those islands are not just beaches. They are the reason the mainland is habitable. Every hurricane driving up the Atlantic toward Wilmington or New Bern hits the barrier chain first. The islands absorb the initial surge, they fracture the wave energy, and they reduce storm tide penetration into the sounds and estuaries behind them by as much as 70%. According to modeling from the University of North Carolina Institute of Marine Sciences. When those islands thin past a critical point, when they breach and fragment and submerge, that protection does not diminish. It vanishes completely. Flood modeling for a Category 3 hurricane making landfall through a compromised Outer Banks chain shows inundation reaching 14 miles inland across terrain that currently sits dry. Communities that have never flooded, roads that have never gone underwater, neighborhoods where families have lived for generations without a single significant flood event. All of it falls inside the new surge zone the moment the buffer is gone. The Pamlico Sound, the Albemarle Sound, and the Cape Fear River Basin become directly exposed to open Atlantic storm energy, with nothing standing between the water and everything built in its path. No seawall will stop this. That is not pessimism. That is the unanimous conclusion of every coastal geologist, every National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration assessment, and every Army Corps of Engineers report published on the Carolina Barrier System in the past decade. Beach renourishment pumps sand onto eroding shores at $5 million per mile, and the ocean reclaims it inside 18 months. The economics collapse under the weight of the mathematics, and the mathematics do not care about the budget. What scientists will tell you, in the language they use when they have stopped softening conclusions, is this: the Carolina Barrier Islands as they exist today will not exist in their current form within the lifetime of a child born on them, right now. The ocean has already passed the tipping point every previous projection identified as the danger threshold. The sand that has protected 300 miles of American coastline for 3,000 years is running out. The water replacing it does not recede. It does not negotiate. It does not respond to federal funding requests or engineering proposals, or the grief of families watching their property disappear into the sea. The Atlantic keeps rising, 3 inches every year, patient, permanent, and completely unstoppable.